Andrew, thanks for the introduction. Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Marisa, for helping me out what I'm supposed to do today. And welcome everyone to the world of mushroom. And my name is Will, and the Thai people will call me by the nickname Leong. And today I'm going to share with you the top 10 challenges of how Singapore mushroom grower face in our country. And in Thailand, so the culture of growing mushroom in Thailand is totally different on what we're going to do here in Singapore because of where Thailand is coming from. Can I do a share screen? Can I the PowerPoint?
Yep. Yes, we can see it.
Right. I'm going to touch on the importance of mushroom industry in Singapore and what is our rate of mushroom production. But let us look at the one on the importance of the industry right now. Then I believe many of us, or rather many of everyone here know trying very hard to achieve our 30 by 30 goal by 2030 to achieve 30% of food sustainability. Yeah, our government is trying really very hard to achieve that target. So food source is one of the during the COVID, it has actually brought forward a timeline on why they want to do food so much. All right. And I'm not sure, have you all read the latest article recently published in the Straits Times that there's a master plan that's already been in place in Lim Chu Kang. And the slogan they are shouting out is called Feeding the Future. I read that article and I was so happy that they did mention mushroom. Mushroom cultivation is one of those components they are looking at right now. And they're going to house them all in one place. And hopefully we will have a chance to do something in that premises. And this, I'm not sure everyone here aware that we do have a skill future framework. Under that sector component, you will not find agriculture in that sector. The closest you see is actually landscaping. So can you imagine, agriculture is not one of the contributing factor currently in our GDP, right? So we are really working very hard to put agriculture in that sector so that we'll be part of the whole skill future framework. So the current states that we are facing right now, literally there's no mushroom farm per se that are able to produce to a certain percentage of local production. Majority of it are actually imported. All right. So these are the current state that we are facing, but I think through time it will improve. But let us go into the first challenges. I will use the farm setup that we have during this period of time that I have identified 10 challenges that I believe most mushroom future grower will face in Singapore. First is the growing space. We do have very limited space right now in Singapore. And the one that we are currently renting, I'm not sure you are aware of the per square feet, how much do they charge? It's actually quite high. But the cheapest that the farming space that we can consider to grow sustainably and yet make money out of it will be at Tuas. Tuas is actually charging $1 per square feet. But the space that we are currently having is 1.3. And it's slightly smaller than a basketball court. Can you imagine that? And having such a tight land that we have right now, everyone is trying to fight for a place to grow something. And at the end, I don't think we will be in that location for too long, because we do have news that the piece of land will eventually build HDB flat. So can you imagine that every space in our country right now will be lesser for agriculture, but again, we will be very positive that once the Lim Chu Kang site is ready, hopefully we'll be able to house there and do what we love to do, growing mushroom. And vertical farming is one of those things that we will definitely have to be aligned with that, because mushroom definitely can be done vertically. And the next challenge, I could say, will most probably be the type of mushroom that we grow. Climate constraint. This is a region where it's a tropic region, so a lot of mushroom you can't literally grow outdoor. Simply because mushroom like lion's mane, button mushroom, portobellos, mushroom that come from the temperate, they have to be under a controlled environment. But having said that, lion's mane, although is a gourmet mushroom that usually found in the temperate region, but there are strain that has already somehow been acclimatized to the tropic region. We can kind of easily grow them in this environment, so that we can grow all year round and not worry about the heat outside. And currently our farm are doing that. We do have a containment closed environment that we are currently doing. So this will be the chamber that we will be growing mushroom that we hardly can find in Singapore, that you can grow openly. So climate is also one of the issues that we are facing. And the third challenges will be definitely the high production cost. The high production cost will usually comes from the equipment, and growing mushroom is kind of heavy labor intensive. And if you were to act the same way as what I'm doing in Thailand, most probably we will have very little margin of profit at the end of the day. So how are we going to address this high production cost? So most probably we will do a blended agriculture concept, right? A hybrid type. I will be looking at something like doing a mass label production somewhere else, maybe in our farm in Thailand, and then we just focus something more towards the last part of it, which is the harvesting and the packaging and the last mile market, so that we can stay competitive. And not forgetting that most of the mushroom right now are mostly imported. We have challenges looking at the prices, because those that comes from China, Thailand, Malaysia is definitely very much cheaper than what is going to be produced in Singapore market right now, which is locally. Again, labor shortages. So at this moment of time, the mushroom industry in Singapore right now are not very, in fact, are at a very infant stage. So it's not fully developed yet. And to pick someone out from the streets to work in a mushroom farm, they need to be trained. So that's the reason why Mushroom Academy are working very closely with institution, so that we can go in and talk about the mushroom industry, give them the skill set, teach them how to grow mushroom. Hopefully, with that, they may advance to come and work for us or someone else who are growing mushroom in Singapore right now. So this will be a good starting point through education, because after all, mushroom is something very new. There's a lot of fear whether can we grow mushroom literally, and what is the thing needed to do it. So through our channel, we hope to remove those fear and get everybody excited and develop the industry right now in Singapore. And we kind of doing that right now with our farm in Punggol. And because of that, our farm right now is actually managed by our learners that we have trained from the institution. And one of the fifth challenges that I would say is the mushroom farm will be facing is that, when we apply for a license with SFA, there's one question they ask. Of course, there are many questions, but there's one particular question they ask us: how are we going to mitigate sporation? There will be a lot of spores during a period of time that the mushroom are ready for harvest, will be emitted out into the environment. So this is a question they are quite concerned with, and they ask, and then we provide them answers, and we told them that we do have mitigation solution for that. So this is also one of the challenges. But if you were to do a right containment setup and with the stringent hygienic protocol, the chances of other pests in the chamber will be as good as zero. All right. So that's the reason why there's a difference between a closed environment cultivation as compared to an open environment cultivation, because of natural pests that will come and consume the mushroom when they are attracted to it. And then eventually the whole ecosystem will appear in your farm inside. And that happens to me the first time when I started off a farm in Thailand, you know. This is interesting because at the end of it, I can sell a very juicy narrative says that, hey, our produce are traceable, we are the source, we grow gourmet mushroom, blah, 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 blah. But at the end, the consumer will still look at the price. All right. Price is always a very challenging factor for grower like us. I'm not sure, have you read an article I believe this was in CNA. The vegetable growers actually donated 40% of their produce. 40% of the produce. They can't sell. They only sold 60% of theirs. And most of the time I hear from my friends who are growing vegetables says that it's always the price issue. So things that comes from outside is definitely going to cost lesser than the one that we grow locally because of high cost of operation, high cost of labor, high cost of utility. And this is going to be really a challenge, but how are we going to overcome it? We are going to overcome it by doing something different, right? Yes, regulatory hurdles. It took me 6 months to set up our farm in Thailand, where we literally start selling our mushroom. But here, it took me 7 months just to get our infrastructure up, and I'm still building up the farm, and it will only be ready by end of next month. So all in all, we took about 9 months. So can you imagine that? There are so many agencies involved. And the first time that when we send out our drawings to the agency, and one of the prominent agency, which is SCDF, the Civil Defense Department, came up with a lot of questions. All right, safety issue concern. As such, we decided to redesign our layout until we remove a few of the major agency. Otherwise, I don't think we are able to get our approval to set up a farm after 9 months. Right. This is a true challenge, a true hurdles that we are facing. So I'm not sure it happens in Malaysia or not, but in Thailand, definitely not. I only took 6 months. Everything is done up fast and furious, and we are ready to sell mushroom. But having said that, we still have to do our service here, being a Singaporean. Right. The 8th challenge, which will be the post-harvesting part. Comparing what we did in Thailand is pretty straightforward. We harvest, we pack simply, and we send it off to the hotel, to our middleman. But over here in Singapore will not be like that. So most probably it will cost us some money to get things right, so that we achieve a certain cleanliness requirement before we can send out or produce. And that part we are still figuring out what are we going to spend on, and what are we going to do. So all this I could say is that will be adding up to our cost aspect as well. And the packaging that we will be looking at will most probably be biodegradable packaging, because after all, we do want to to play a part in this the whole sustainable ecosystem. And this is where you'll be very interesting. Why? Because to begin with, Mushroom Academy is a social enterprise. And I do believe that we should let special need handle and manage our farm. And with that, we are able to provide a certain element of employment to them that has a source of income. At the same time, when we do our mushroom cultivation, we do produce a lot of waste. Any form of agriculture, I believe we do produce a lot of waste. So how do we manage the mushroom agriculture waste? I'm not sure about other mushroom farm, but over here, we are going to grow our second and third crop. We're going to, so there's this another slogan in Singapore, they always say, grow more for less. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our agriculture material to extend a few cycle of growth for other type of mushroom to maximize their lifespan. So hopefully with our precision and method and approach, we hope that we are able to achieve this sustainable practice. And this is very important. This is research innovation. We container specially for our microbiologists, molecular biologists, plant-based tissue people, and hopefully a mycologist with me to produce another fungi meat protein under the pretext, under the lab environment. Literally everything grown within the lab, so that we avoid the commitment of growing it like a farm, because going through the whole train of setup, it's going to cost a lot of money, and it's not really practical in Singapore. But it will work if we can achieve the whole objective in the lab setting. So what type of mushroom are we going to achieve this objective? That is something that I already identified. R&D work has already been done. So the next part of work is to gather this expertise to come in together with me and develop the final end product, which is the concept. So research and innovation is very important, and this is something that the government in Singapore will support you through thick and thin if we are able to achieve that goal. So I think this is something that we can look at for country like us, which is so small, for food security and food safety in that sense, right? So there's a traditional way of growing, literally from table, but there's another way from lab to table, which is also possible. Unless you can identify which type of mushroom. Not all mushroom can do that. So basically, I can say is that the whole growing culture in every country are different. Friends of mine who are in Malaysia growing mushroom, they told me they also have issue with raw material, and the culture of growing mushroom in Malaysia is also different from the one in Thailand, similarly in Singapore. So right now, Singapore is entering a phase whereby we need to quickly ramp up our food production, and hopefully Mushroom Academy can play a little humble role in achieving that for our nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done with my presentation. If you have questions, please ask.
Thank you very much, Liam. So I'm going to take the scope here and start off with some questions just to get the ball rolling. So I've got a couple of things to ask. You specified on the idea of lion's mane and being able to grow those locally, right, in the local climate without any kind of controls. So those are saprophytic. That's a saprophytic fungus, right? So are you doing like Everbloom used to do and going and getting old rubber trees and grinding them up and using those as your substrate, or what are you using as your substrate for those?
Okay, there are two types of mushroom that we are currently exposed to: the acidic mushroom and the alkaline mushroom. So lion's mane belongs to the saprophytic side, which is more on the acidic part, where the pH level is less than is between 5.5 to 6.5. So we are using sawdust, which is rubber tree. You're right, Andrew. And rubber tree study has been done by some researcher that they are very good carbon material as compared to others carbon-based material to grow acidic mushroom. And we did some tests with an institution, and we worked very closely with a lot of polys in Singapore. And the result that came up from that outcome demonstrated that it's true. Sawdust based from rubber tree are better off than fine wood chip, which is cypress and other mahogany or teak wood. So again, this is the resources we got in Southeast Asia. But if you're talking about somewhere the other side of the continent, you don't find that over there, which is rubber tree. But what do they use? They use materials such as the hay, the hemp, and then the oak tree and all this, which is also very good for growing mushroom. So yeah, we use that a lot in Thailand, and we are going to use here in Singapore as well. But it's not sustainable. I got to tell everybody here that continually rubber tree are being chopped, are being grind, and they are all running out. That's the reason why in Malaysia, some of my friends growers says that they have trouble sourcing for rubber tree. So now they look for another alternative materials. So what is the alternative material that we can use in Singapore in order not to be dependent on other places to import the material over, which can also be another load of waste that we are generating. And this is a very good time for me and my team to do an R&D and figure it out, because we have to solve this issue permanently. Without raw material, you don't have mushroom. So I'm excited that I think I have a solution. It's just that I want to make sure my thoughts are true. So let's work on that.